Now, to have the conversation around domestic violence, of course, to mark a day as this, I have Barrister Olumide Omosebi and his wife Olaide. She's a survivor and she's moved on to live a beautiful life. And we're going to have her story and, of course, their story together as activists. And also joining us, I have Charity Ladi Babatunde, who is a human resource specialist as well as deals with children. So we're going to understand what happens in the work environment, what happens in the home, and as well as what happens among young children. This conversation must be had. Let me start with Olaide. You're a survivor from your past relationships. Okay, so let's understand this a little more. What are some of the signs that you think you ignored that maybe you advise other women out there not to ignore?
Okay, thank you for having me once again. There's several signs, little signs that most women ignore. For me, number one thing was the violence. He was very violent to other people. So I felt that because I was his wife to be and he wasn't aggressive to me, he wasn't showing any signs of abuse to me personally, I felt that I was safe. And I also felt that I could change him, make him a better person. So I saw the signs, I saw the aggressiveness, I saw the violence, I saw the fighting with other people, but I ignored it.
What kept you in that relationship? I believe you were there for how many years?
I was there for 8 years. Before I got into that marriage, I had my siblings telling me not to go into it. I didn't want my friends or family to tell me, oh, didn't we tell you not to go into it? So the stigma was one of the reasons why I stayed. Another reason was because I felt that I was a fixer. I wanted to prove to the whole world that I could change him, that I could help him become a better person. So I stayed. And a third reason was because of my children. It's very difficult for single mothers out there, the stigma, the financial ability to take care of your children. So these are some of the reasons why I stayed for that long. I felt that I could weather it out.
So when did you decide that enough was enough, and why?
Yes, that's exactly the point. It was when I realized that my life really matters. After a series of beating, I ended up with a back pain, with a back injury that doctors felt I needed surgery for. So at that point in time, I realized that even if I died there, my kids would survive. So it was better for me to be alive to take care of those children than for me to die.
So let's understand the first time that you were physically abused in a relationship. How did you feel? And when was the last time? Run us through that experience.
The first time, I actually felt maybe it was my fault because it started with a slap. I think I could remember vividly that first time I needed to do something, make some food for him in the house. So I reached into the wardrobe and I saw some money. I said, okay, look, let me take out of this money and make food for my husband before he gets back from work. And then he came back, after making food, after preparing dinner and everything, and he slapped me and said I had no right to take out of that money to make his meal. So at that point in time, I said, okay, maybe next time I should have waited to ask for permission before taking the money to make his dinner. And there was no GSM, there was no phone call. So at that point in time, I thought it was my fault. Over time, I realized that was just who that's the kind of person he was. He would bring out knives, he would bring out broken bottles, he would threaten to kill me, break my leg, bring out my eye. The last time, I don't even want to remember, it was so vivid, it was so violent, and it was all because of something very little as putting a cup on the table.
What have you found to be some of the reasons why men have acted this way or abused their partners?
The first is the character trait, which is a hot-tempered man. There are some people that have little control over their reactions. They indulge their moods, they indulge their feelings, and have little restraint. Insecurity, and some, it could be financial insecurities.
Are there reasons viable enough to keep someone in these reforms of relationship?
Between January and April, we have buried 37 spouses that have killed each other. That is, husbands that have killed their wives, wives that have killed their husbands. That is between January and April alone. And a lot of cases are unreported because of stigma. You know, there is really no replacement for life. It happens in such a way that a shove, a push, a slap could make someone trip. You know, just in a fit of rage, you hold an object and you hit. There was some years ago, the man just ran after the wife. She ran to the balcony and he pushed her down from a 5-story building. You know, she survived, but she's paralyzed from her neck down. She can't even control her bowels. But we had told her, you need to leave. But, you know, religion has another part to play. They keep saying, you have to stay, you have to pray, and God will do it. And, you know, she's paralyzed from her neck downwards. The man has remarried and has traveled out of Nigeria to Canada. And this woman, I mean, who is going to tend to her? She can't move, she can't eat, we don't even know where she is anymore.
So let me ask, as a HR specialist that you are, have you personally ever experienced, violence in the workspace?
Now, what happens in the workplace is you tend to have more psychological. At the root of abuse and domestic violence and violence against women, at the heart of it is a power play. So what you then find happening in the workplace is where they're trying to put you down when you try to voice out your opinion. And sometimes when they cannot handle it, it goes a step further and they begin to use abusive words that are totally unacceptable in the workplace. So it does happen. Have I experienced it? Oh, yes, I have. A couple of times. But one of the things, I don't know, I guess that this is probably personal to me. For some reason, maybe because I come from a family of 3 girls, I've never really been able to see the difference between a man and a woman. I don't know that you understand what I mean. So for me, it's the fact that you have a brain, I have a brain, and we have both been skilled in our different areas of specialty. So my first instinct would not be, oh, he's talking to me that way because I am a woman. It will be, you have a problem. There's something wrong with your character, your upbringing. But I do know that it happens, and I do know that not everybody is able to handle it as they should. I'm doing some work in a hospital, and we had a situation where one of our female nurses came to me, and I could see that she was totally destabilized. What had happened? A patient had slapped her.
Oh my.
Immediately, I got up and called another senior member of the management team, and we went down. You know how they tell you the customer is always right? Okay, customer is right, but not when it comes to, not when it comes to harassing my staff. So I went downstairs, and I mean, where the ward where he was. Now, clearly, the man was, he was obviously better. For you to be slapping somebody, he was obviously better. But I've also found out that people who are abusive, they may look very sober, and it's just for a moment, unless the root cause of it is. But so we do not tolerate it at all. We have policies in place. Now, where it gets to a stage where the life of the person is being threatened, we will not hesitate to take it up with the appropriate authorities, even if it means throwing the person in jail to learn a lesson or two.
What are some of the other policies, rules that can be put in place, to ensure that these things don't happen?
So the great thing is that even though we would love for a lot more people to speak up, right? It has improved. The stigma is there, but it's not as bad as it used to be. Now, one of the things that we have in place, which I guess a number of organizations can borrow, is we have a whistle-blowing app where anonymously you can call out whoever it is.
Oh my.
I also handle the human resource function. So my door is always open. At any point in time, you're free to walk in.
I would say I was a bit lucky because my ex-husband then felt that because I didn't really have, I was doing petty business. So I think he felt that having the children was going to be a burden. So the day we were supposed to have a reconciliation meeting between the families, he came and dumped the children. I think to him at that point in time, he felt he was punishing me because, I left the house without clothes. He brought the children without clothes, no food, no money. So it was easy because I had the kids. I mean, he just brought them and dumped them.
What advice do you have for any woman or any person going through that violence, such violence right now?
It's not even an advice, it's a fact. Just leave. I started an NGO called the Gnosis Help Initiative, and what we do is we give free legal advice, free counseling. Then I started another program called Just Before You Say I Do. This is sharing the mistakes made by the previous generation with the younger generation so they don't make the same mistake.
The fact that you didn't have so much to do, you said you were doing petty business at the time.
Yes.
So how does that affect other women? Are they scared that, okay, I can't provide, this is the reason why I must stay? What advice do you have for those women?
The fact that you're a woman going into a marriage does not mean that you have to leave everything you're doing just because you want to make your marriage work. It doesn't work that way. So going into a marriage, whatever it is you can find to do, be it the petty trading, be it a career woman, be it business, whatever, please, you have to have a source of income. It's very, very important because that's what has killed so many women. The fact that they are afraid that they cannot provide for themselves and their children once they leave, it's why they stay there and get killed. So please, every woman must have something tangible doing, no matter how little.
Thank you so much for sharing your experience and your wisdom. We do appreciate it. Before we go, let me quickly ask Charity one last question. Capacity building. So children are always around you, and you also have beautiful children yourself. So let me ask, how do you keep your daughter safe? How are you able to do this? And what advice can you give to other women in making sure that their daughters are kept safe, have the protection that they need?
With children, you find out that they're more vulnerable to sexual abuse. And so I have written a book called A Niger Parent's Guide to Having the Talk, Sex and More. And it talks to how parents can have conversations with their children from as young as age 2 on the kind of things to avoid. And Nigerian parents generally tend to shy away from the conversation about sex. That's one. Two, Nigerian parents also tend to give the impression that everything is rosy and everything is okay. They are not comfortable talking to their children about their mistakes. They need to do that. I have been very open with my children about the good, the bad, and the ugly, as is age appropriate. I'm able to switch the heart of a mother to the heart of a friend, to the heart of, okay, this person just needs counsel from an adult. And that has helped. But the advice is, parents, talk to your children. Let them know. Don't bury your head in the sand and do not act as if it doesn't exist. These things exist and they're aware of it. So it's important that you keep talking, but create a safe space. Don't be judgmental. No parent should ever tell their child, their daughter particularly, that if they are abused, it is their fault. That is wrong. You shouldn't ask your child, what did you do? What was it that you did yourself? What did you do? That is wrong. You need to create a safe space where they come to you and they're comfortable to talk to you about anything. Yes, you can then point out where their flaws are. But the first thing is to make sure that you're dealing with the esteem of that child at any point in time. So that's it.
Thank you so much. I want to appreciate you for being here again, Charity. Thank you so much, Barrister Olumide and his wife, Olaide. I thank you so much.